Way back home. Everyone has a place to return to, home. Emma sat alone in her apartment on a high floor of a downtown New York high-rise, gazing out of a large window at the bustling streets below, bathed in the glow of nighttime lights. Everything around her, from the household items to the hectic sounds of the streets, gave her a sense of alienation, even though she had lived here for 10 years. When Emma first arrived in the US, she was filled with excitement and curiosity to explore her new life. She immersed herself in the dynamic urban life, quickly achieving success in her career and building relationships with colleagues and friends. Despite having adapted to her life and work here, deep down, she always felt an unfillable void. Emma is now a talented software engineer working for a major tech company. She lives in a beautiful apartment equipped with all the modern conveniences, frequently dining out with friends and attending cultural events in the city. Although this life seems perfect, Emma can't stop herself from missing the tranquil village back in England where she grew up, where everyone knew each other, and days didn't pass in a noisy, hurried rush like in New York. One late autumn evening, while Emma was sitting with a cup of tea and browsing through family photos on social media, she felt extremely lonely and disconnected. The photos of her sister preparing for her wedding in London reminded her of all she was missing. This moment made her deeply reflect on her life and choices. It was a late Sunday evening when Emma made the video call to her family. The screen lit up with the faces of her parents and Lucy, her younger sister, all gathered in their cozy living room back in England. As her mother shared the latest updates on the wedding preparations, talking about the venue decorations and the guest list, Emma could hear the laughter and the familial banter in the background. The room was filled with a sense of excitement and anticipation for the upcoming celebration. Emma listened intently, a smile spreading across her face as she saw how happy and involved everyone was. Lucy teased her about missing out on the cake tasting, and her father jokingly complained about the growing list of tasks. The joy in their voices was palpable, and it tugged at Emma's heartstrings. As the conversation unfolded, she realized how much of her life she was missing by being so far away. The achievements she had in the US felt hollow compared to the laughter and love shared in that simple family gathering. Moved by the conversation, Emma felt an overwhelming desire to return home. She realized that no career success could substitute the warmth of being surrounded by her loved ones. The call ended with promises of swift return and more laughter, but as the screen went dark, Emma sat silently for a moment, overwhelmed by her emotions. It was then she understood that home was not just a place, but where her heart truly belonged. With a deep sigh, Emma opened her laptop and started searching for flights back to England. She scrolled through various options, each click bringing her closer to her decision. Finally, she booked a ticket for the earliest flight available. As she confirmed her booking, a sense of relief washed over her. Emma spent the rest of the night planning her departure, making lists of what needed to be done before she could leave New York. Part 2: Bridging Two Worlds, The Journey Back. Emma had decided to return to England to attend her sister's wedding and to address the homesickness that had haunted her over the years. The preparations for this trip were not just logistical but also an emotional journey, marking the beginning of her reconnection with her homeland. In a sleek programming office on a high floor of a Manhattan building, Emma met with her boss, Mr. James. She explained her plans and requested a month off. James, who was familiar with and appreciated Emma's skills, supported her decision. He proposed that during Emma's absence, her colleagues would take over her duties, and he would personally oversee the important projects. Emma was grateful for this flexibility and support, which eased her pressure and allowed her to focus on her trip. Emma spent the following days cleaning up her apartment. She sifted through clothes, books, and memories that had accumulated over the decade. This process was not just about physical decluttering but also a journey of revisiting her life, from concert tickets she had enjoyed with friends to letters from her family. Each item she decided to keep or discard was a step in reshaping her identity and what truly mattered to her. One evening, Emma hosted a small party in her apartment to inform her friends about her upcoming plans. Her friends, a diverse group including college friends and colleagues, were excited and supportive of her decision. They spent most of the evening sharing memories and discussing future plans. Some friends even suggested staying in touch through video calls and updates on social media, which made Emma feel warm and appreciated for their deep care. The night before her departure, Emma couldn't sleep. She sat in the living room, looking out the window, pondering the changes that lay ahead. Part 3: The Journey Back Home. Emma spent her last evening in New York packing her suitcases. As she folded each item of clothing, she couldn't help but think about the contrasting lives she led on either side of the Atlantic. The night was quiet, and the city's usual buzz seemed muted, as if giving her a gentle farewell. She double-checked her documents, passport, ticket, and a neatly written list of things to do once she landed back in England. Trying to sleep that night was futile. Her mind raced with both excitement and a hint of anxiety about the changes that awaited her. The next morning, Emma arrived at JFK Airport with plenty of time before her flight. The airport was bustling with travelers, each absorbed in their own journey. Emma checked in her luggage and proceeded through security, feeling a sense of surrealism that she was actually leaving the life she had known for a decade. At the departure gate, she watched planes take off and land, each a reminder of the vast distances that connect our lives. While sipping coffee, Emma texted her family about her imminent arrival, their enthusiastic replies boosting her spirits. Once on board, Emma settled into her seat by the window. As the plane ascended above New York, she gazed down at the shrinking cityscape, feeling a chapter of her life closing. The flight was mostly quiet, with passengers either dozing or lost in their own entertainment. Emma chose to spend her time reflecting, occasionally gazing out the window at the clouds that seemed timeless and unchanging. Meals were served, movies were watched, and hours ticked by. Emma thought about her family, the familiar streets of her hometown, and the room she once called her own. The mix of emotions was overwhelming, sadness for what she was leaving behind, but a growing excitement for what was to come. Landing at Heathrow was like waking from a dream. The familiar sights and sounds of England welcomed her as she disembarked. The air was cooler than she remembered, carrying the scent of rain from earlier that day. Emma navigated through customs and baggage claim with a sense of urgency, eager to see her family. As she walked through the arrivals gate, her eyes searched the crowd until they landed on her parents and her sister, all beaming with smiles. The reunion was heartfelt. Hugs were tighter and lingered longer than usual, and Emma felt a rush of relief and happiness. Her father took her luggage, her mother linked arms with her, and they all talked at once, eager to catch up on every detail. The drive back to her village was filled with vibrant conversation. Her family pointed out new developments and changes in the landscape that had occurred in her absence. Each familiar landmark brought a story or a memory, making Emma feel both nostalgic and a bit like a tourist in her own hometown. As they turned down the lane towards her childhood home, Emma's heart swelled. The sight of the old stone house, with smoke curling from the chimney and the garden her mother so lovingly cared for, was overwhelmingly comforting. As they pulled into the driveway, Emma knew that no matter how far she might roam, this place would always pull her back, a true anchor in the swiftly changing tides of life. Part 4: Roots Revisited, Rediscovering Home. Emma's first few days back were filled with long walks through her village and its surroundings, reacquainting herself with the rolling hills and quaint cottages that dotted the landscape. Each familiar path and hidden alley held memories of her youth. Emma often paused to admire the views that had once been the backdrop of her everyday life, now seen through the eyes of someone who had experienced a world beyond. Emma quickly realized that reconnecting with the people was both comforting and challenging. She visited old friends, many of whom had started families or moved into new homes. Conversations often began with a mix of excitement and awkward pauses as they tried to bridge the gap of years with updates and reminiscences. At times, Emma felt a disconnect, as though her experiences abroad had carved a gap between her and her childhood friends. However, their warm welcomes and genuine interest in her stories from America slowly eased her back into the community. The village itself had changed as well. Some of her favorite shops had closed down, replaced by new establishments. There was a new coffee shop where the old post office used to be, and a tech startup had taken over the space that was once a bookstore. Emma felt a pang of loss for the familiar, but also a growing curiosity about the new. She made a point of visiting these new places, engaging with the owners, and learning about their stories and what they brought to the community. Emma also faced the subtle cultural adjustments of returning to a British lifestyle after years in the US. She occasionally caught herself tipping excessively or expecting services and interactions to be as quick as they were in New York. The relaxed pace of life in her village, where people often stopped to chat without a rush, initially made her impatient. But she gradually began to appreciate the slower, more deliberate pace of life, finding peace in the unhurried conversations and the deeper connections they fostered. Establishing a new routine was vital for Emma. She started freelancing as a software developer, allowing her to manage her time flexibly. She joined a local yoga class and became involved in a community gardening project, which not only connected her with nature but also with her neighbors. These activities helped her forge new friendships based on shared interests rather than just past acquaintances. During quiet evenings at home, Emma often reflected on her journey. She realized that both her time in the US and her return home had taught her invaluable lessons about herself and her desires in life. She began writing a blog to share her experiences of living between two cultures, which not only helped her process her thoughts but also connected her with others facing similar transitions. The sense of alienation that once troubled her faded as she wove herself back into the fabric of local life. She found joy in the familiarity of her surroundings and the new opportunities that had arisen from her time away. Emma understood that home isn't just a place, but a state of being, and she was finally where she needed to be, enriched by her experiences and ready to contribute to her community in new and meaningful ways. Part 5: Happiness with Family. Emma's return was not only a reunion with her hometown but also a profound reconnection with her family. Those first days were filled with long conversations late into the night, where laughter and sometimes tears flowed freely. Her parents shared stories of the community and the small ways in which life had shifted in her absence. They listened intently as Emma recounted her adventures and challenges in America, expressing pride in her accomplishments and empathy for her struggles. As the wedding day approached, Emma immersed herself in the preparations. Her sister, Lucy, had been planning the event for over a year, and now Emma was thrilled to be part of the final arrangements. Together, they reviewed vendor lists, confirmed details with the caterers, and went over the seating chart. Emma took special joy in helping Lucy choose the final touches for her bridal look, feeling grateful to be present for such a significant moment in her sister's life. Lucy's wedding was set in a beautiful country estate just outside their village, a place teeming with greenery and blooming flowers. The ceremony was picturesque, held under a canopy of wisteria with friends and family gathered around. Emma, as the maid of honor, felt a surge of emotion as she watched her sister walk down the aisle, radiant and smiling. During her speech, Emma shared anecdotes about their childhood, weaving in heartfelt wishes for the couple's future, which brought laughter and sentimental tears from the guests. Post-wedding, Emma and her family spent more time together, further strengthening their bonds. They hosted relatives who had traveled for the wedding, turning the event into an extended family reunion. During these gatherings, Emma reconnected with cousins and relatives she hadn't seen in years, sharing stories and updates about their lives. It was during these moments that Emma fully appreciated being back home, surrounded by the love and support of her family. As the festivities died down, Emma took on new roles within the family. With her parents growing older, she found ways to support them, whether by helping around the house or managing some of their affairs. Her relationship with Lucy also evolved as they transitioned from siblings to friends who shared advice and support as equals. See you again. Emma's return home and the celebration of her sister's wedding became a pivotal chapter in her life, marking her full reintegration into her family and her community. The joy of the wedding and the warmth of familial bonds reaffirmed her decision to come back. Emma realized that while she had left behind a life full of excitement and opportunity in the US, she had returned to a place that held deeper emotional connections and a sense of belonging that she had longed for during her years abroad. For those studying or working far from home, the story of Way Back Home serves as a heartfelt reminder of the enduring bond we share with our origins. It reminds us that the bonds of family and the essence of our homeland hold an irreplaceable place in our hearts, no matter how far we travel or how successful we become. Emma's return from the bustling life in New York to her serene English village illustrates the powerful pull of these bonds. Her reconnection with her parents and her participation in her sister's wedding highlight the profound joy and grounding that only family and home can offer. This narrative encourages us to maintain those precious connections, to cherish our familial bonds through calls, letters, or visits, and to remember that our roots remain a source of strength and identity. In the relentless pursuit of our ambitions, let us not forget that our relationships with family and the memories of home can provide the comfort and motivation needed to thrive in any environment. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to practice speaking English every day. If you liked our video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more lessons. See you next time.